Welcome survivors, I hope you're all doing well. You want to know what's confirmed so far about ARK 2? Well, of course you do. So similar to the ARK animated series, I've done an everything we know so far. There's several controversial changes in addition to some much welcomed ones. Before I get started, I wanted to give some credit to Tia Aurora, who did an excellent written article on it recently that helped me tie up some loose ends. I'll link that in the description below. Okay, so ARK 2 is planned to be released in 2023 with no specific date or month announced yet, although Xbox do list the title in their coming in the first half of 2023 list of games. Now please note that this is always subject to change, but it currently stands as the targeted release period. It will be releasing on Xbox Series S, X and on PC simultaneously. It has been classed as an Xbox launch exclusive, but don't let that confuse you. It will be coming to a PC at the same time. No details have been confirmed regarding ARK 2 being released on other platforms yet, such as PlayStation or mobile. However, Studio Wildcard have confirmed that it is always their intention to bring their titles to all platforms if they can. And they are also actively looking for a mobile developer for ARK 2. In regards to Nintendo Switch, developers Grove Street Games have partnered with Studio Wildcard and will be supporting on ARK 2 development. So ARK 2 is going to be set on a brand new world called Arat, home to the local inhabitants called the Aratai. The story depicted by ARK 2 is going to include Santiago, who is described by the developers as the main protagonist, along with his co-protagonist daughter Mika. Santiago will be voiced by the legendary Vin Diesel, while his daughter is voiced by Oliyi Carvalho, who did the voice for Disney's Moana. Although ARK 2 will be more story driven than ARK 1, it will still involve PvP. But with no gameplay footage seen so far, it's not easy to determine what the PvP aspect of the game will look like and be compared to ARK 1. This is one of the areas that many players are hoping to find out more about in the coming months. Probably the most controversial change for ARK 2 compared to the first game is that it will be third person only for official servers. Now, I say for official servers, and that's because ARK 2 is going to heavily support mods across all platforms, and with such an array of talent within the modding community, it is highly likely that first person will be introduced through mods. However, without seeing any actual gameplay footage yet, it isn't easy to determine how the gameplay might be adversely affected by first person, or how easy it will be for modders to change it. But the developers are confident that mods will bring first person to the game. Of course, when the game first drops, all modes, be it single player or private server, will be third person until a mod is developed and released, and therefore first impressions of the game will be solely based on third person only. And what is probably the second most controversial change for ARK 2 is that it will have a Souls-like combat system. So anyone familiar with games like Dark Souls, Assassin's Creed, even the Batman Arkham games will be familiar with this. This combat system will introduce target lock, blocks, dodges, combos, staggers and special attacks. It will also include advanced character traversal mechanics such as mantling, free climbing, parkour, sliding and swinging. And this, I believe, is the main reason for the developers making ARK 2 a third person only game, as it is much better suited to that style of gameplay. Now, unlike ARK 1, ARK 2 will be introducing mods to all platforms. This includes consoles for the first time. Studio Wildcard have joined forces with Mod.io to integrate fully stackable user-created mods cross-platform. This means all platforms will be able to get user-made creatures, structures and items, new maps and quality of life improvements. The opportunities are endless. Some major changes have already been covered, but there's even more. The world of Arat is going to have procedural events out in the wild that will occur at random at any given time. This will create scenarios of natural and unnatural settings which you as a player will be able to decide whether you interact with or not. As these will happen randomly around the map, you may not be prepared to face what it is, so you can simply move on, walk away, or take a chance and possibly reap the rewards. Some of these procedural events will be fight arenas where you can fight other players or with your tribe to test your abilities. Similar to ARK 1's Genesis missions, some of these will be in the form of an instance and therefore do not take place in the main world itself. ARK 2 is also going to have NPCs that will fight you. These, at least to begin with, are going to be the Erratae, who are going to be an opposing force. So besides having to fight off and defend from creature attacks, you'll have NPCs who themselves will have their own creatures on their side. The developers describe them as hunting and attacking you, giving an idea that they could appear and strike at any given time. ARK 2 is supposedly going to be much more primitive in nature than technological, although the developers have said before that it will be primarily primitive. Studio Wildcard have hinted that there is still tech involved. Jeremy Stieglitz, one of the co-founders, recently said during an ARK community stream that the tech in ARK 2 actually feels threatening in a way that you can't quite get a handle on it compared to the tech in ARK 1. He continued to say that you can get the sense that it's magical, but not in a good way, and although yes it is technology, it doesn't seem pleasant or something that you wouldn't want to dabble with. Now, this doesn't quite clear up any questions that people might have in relation to tech in ARK 2, and we don't know if it will be tech that is fixed in the world or as usable items that you can craft and carry around. But it does sound like there will be some form of tech in ARK 2, even if it is still to be a primarily primitive game. ARK 2 is said to have a major overhaul in creature AI. Instead of creatures randomly walking in all directions and aggroing on you based on peripheral detection, they will be designed to track and hunt by sight, sound and smell. That's right, by smell. You'll be able to hide from creatures through the use of visual camouflage and using environmental obstructions. There will also be methods to mask your scent to further hide from predators. Creature AIs will have dynamic pathfinding to enable them to maneuver around obstacles in the environment and player-made structures. This is a huge step forward from ARK 1 to make the creatures and other NPCs much more lifelike. And speaking of player-made structures, ARK 2 has reportedly improved the performance around these with instanced rendering and network streaming that will enable servers to perform better around huge structures built by the players, as we all know how much the servers can lag in ARK 1 around these massive builds, to the point some players' games can crash. But not only that, ARK 2 is introducing building templates. You'll be able to create building templates and save them to share with other players or take them to other servers and build them, where similar to games like Grounded, you'll be able to place the structure templates in the world and see how it will look before you actually build the structures with the resources that you'll need. This is a huge change for structures and a massive one for ARK builders. Players will also be able to build their own tools and weapons. This means players will be able to customize them through functionality and the way that they look to make them completely unique from other players. It's not just a case of changing how it looks through colors and items, but to the extent of the types of materials you choose to use will further affect the appearance. This means with the functionality of each tool and weapons being customized and therefore being unique, players in a PvP environment will not necessarily know the threat until it hits them. And finally, further development for ARK 2 will include improved character progression, where you will gain experience points from gameplay but also knowledge points gained through the key objectives and successfully completing unique challenges, which may very well be connected to the procedural events that will happen around the environment. This then introduces a skill tree where you'll be able to apply your knowledge points to unlock and activate abilities, perks and passive benefits. This, in addition to unique customized weapons, will further create an uncertain scenario between PvP forces due to neither side necessarily knowing what each side poses in terms of power and abilities. What hasn't been spoken about or even mentioned it in any way yet in regards to characters is character creation. We haven't even seen anything about how you'll be able to create your characters, what they'll be able to look like compared to the ARK 1 character creation. Nothing's been mentioned on that yet. And that's all we know so far, survivors. If there is anything I've missed off, please do let me know. We're still waiting to see gameplay footage and get a firm release date. However, with the Extra Life event coming up in November, I personally expect there to be plenty of ARK 2 coverage on that, with some new reveals hopefully, but we'll just have to wait and see if that is truly the case. Thanks for watching, survivors. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with all the ARK news, and I'll see you next time.